We never want to confuse volume for value. At the end of the day, we are trying to create transformation, not just deliver information. They don't want a lot to do. They want the outcome. So the more effective and faster we can get them to that end result, the better.
What if you could build a business in the modern world as big or as small as you want without having to compromise the things that were the most important to you in the very beginning? This is the Wealthy Consultant Talks Podcast with Taylor Welch and Mike Walker, as they share with you today their learning lessons from stories in their experiences over the past 10 to 15 years and share with you right here, right now. Let's get into it.
Hey, what is going on, my friends? Mike Walker here, excited to dive in on another topic that I know can transform your business. It will absolutely transform your business if you can embrace some of these concepts I'm going to share with you today, specifically about delegating like a CEO. Delegating like a CEO. Now, why are we talking about this today? Well, it's simply because a lot of people, as they come into our ecosystem, right? They come to the Wealthy Consultant, they start learning about our abilities to help them scale, grow, et cetera, all the things that they want. One of the things that Taylor and I really pick up on quite quickly and most often in people's businesses in that very earlier stage of scale and growth is the fact that they have to have a mental shift. They really have to kind of, for lack of a better way to say it, almost like a lobotomy, honestly, in terms of being an entrepreneur and being a CEO. They are very different things. And when you are wanting to grow, when you're wanting to take your business to the next level, you really start to become aware, cognizant of the fact that to get to the next level will require you to do things very, very differently. And we see this all the time where these business owners, they come in, they've got great businesses, they've got great mission statements, they're passionate, they're doing the work, all the things, right? And then all of a sudden they just plateau and they're like, what is going on? Like, I've stopped growing. I can't grow anymore. Or I'm sure maybe you've even felt this, like, wow, there's only 24 hours in the day. How can I get to the next level, right? If I'm already maxed out, how am I going to go do more, right? So obviously we hear this, oh, well, you got to work smarter, not harder. Okay, yeah, well, that sounds really cool and fun, right? But how do we do that? Well, one of the biggest, most high leverage activities you can do as a business owner is to make the shift from entrepreneur mindset to CEO mindset. And a big piece of that is learning to work through people instead of with your own hands. And that is a really critical component, especially for those that are kind of that lean and scrappy, just bootstrap it. I figured out and kind of grew organically on my own. Well, that's all good and well. In fact, that's honestly how I started my entrepreneurial journey too. But you quickly realize that there are limits to what you can do on your own, right? And so once you go, okay, well, I need people. Well, yeah, you need people, but you need people on a mission. You need people with clarity. You need people with a runway to operate on that is synergistic to your vision for the company, right? And that can get really hard. You get a lot of people on board, that's one thing, but you quickly realize, wow, this is like herding cats. So you really got to delegate like a CEO, but how do we do that? Well, one of the things that I really like to highlight is the fact that there is a difference between delegating tasks and delegating outcomes. Let me say that one more time. This is a big one, probably even a writer downer if this is kind of something new for you and you're making this shift from entrepreneur to a true business owner, CEO. There is a difference between delegating tasks and delegating outcomes. Now, this largely has to do with the caliber, or rather the sophistication level of the team that you are bringing on. Naturally, there are going to be, just task doers, laborers, right? Like the manual labor, the people, hey guys, I need X, Y, and Z done, and this is what it looks like, go do it. That's fine, and you need that. But as you start to move up the food chain, if you will, with the business, you start to realize, wow, no, I need actual other brains working on things. I can't just have hands working on things. I need to actually take out some of these pieces of decision-making, reduce my cognitive load, and get it into someone else's hands who maybe is probably, hopefully, if you're doing it right, if you're hiring right, better, smarter, more interested, more passionate about that one particular piece of the business than you are. Because ultimately, the height of your business is going to be throttled by the quality of your team and your ability to delegate tasks towards a quality or a very high potency, high performance decision-making team, right? And so let's talk about this delegation, because there are different levels of delegation when it comes to things getting done. Like I said, delegating tasks, delegating outcomes. Let's talk about the difference of this because this is important. So number one, there are what I call high autonomy tasks or high autonomy delegation, which simply just says, hey, Joe, this is what good looks like. We need to accomplish X and we need to get this done by the end of the month. Help us get there, right? And you basically have meeting number one on the front, which is, hey, this is what good looks like. And these are some of the basics. And they essentially take it and run with it until the end. And then at the end, they come back, okay, this is what I've accomplished. This is what we were able to achieve, et cetera, right? So essentially just 2 touch points, beginning and end. That's a high autonomy. You're giving that person essentially carte blanche to really define the process in which the end outcome is created, right? That's what we want. We want decision makers. Hey, look, this is the picture of good. Now go do it, right? That's great. Well, there are other levels of delegation too. There's so what I call moderate oversights, which is essentially you have that start meeting, right? But along the way, you have predefined milestones that say, okay, once we get to this piece or this phase, let's stop, analyze, make sure we're still on track, and then move on to the next. And typically these I like to break up into 4 touch points, essentially the start, 2 milestones, and a finish. That's usually for any kind of major project or high leverage goal or objective you have in your business. A 4 touch point objective is a really good way to do it because it just makes sure that you're on track. You don't get too far off or too out of their lane, and then all of a sudden you're using up a week or 2 just to rein them back in to get them a little bit more on a straight shot towards your vision of what that good looks like, right? So again, high autonomy is just 2 touch points, beginning and end, right? Moderate is a start, 2 milestones, and then a finish. And then the last one is what I call like close guidance. Now, this is something that either is extremely imperative or has high consequence of any kind of risk factors, et cetera, or it's people that just need more guidance. And this is where you may want to delegate these types of close guidance projects to managers, because this is where you're going to have like up to 8 touch points. So you'd have obviously the beginning, hey guys, this is the mission, this is what we're trying to achieve, painting the picture and starting with the end in mind, all those things, right? And then you're gonna have regular check-ins. So maybe this is, 6 weeks of weekly check-ins. Okay, guys, where are we at today? Kind of more measuring the KPIs and really breaking this thing up into finer detail to make sure that nothing is missed. So it's not a matter of like, well, I only do it, I only use high autonomy delegation, or I only use close guidance delegation. It's really an important piece to understand as a CEO that when to deploy these different levels of delegation to really know that it's going to get done the right way. And if you're not having to do this, then making sure that your management team is understanding the nuances and the difference between high autonomy and close guidance and even the moderate oversight projects, right? So just a concept to understand. It's very simple, but when you can start to delegate more efficiently, understanding the level of autonomy, then you're not going to get confused or frustrated by, well, I don't know what's going on. I haven't heard from them. Well, yeah, because it's a high autonomy task. You just told them to go get it done, and they should be reporting back to you in the next week and let you know what's going on or whatever, right? So it's really just understanding how much bandwidth or how much free reign you want to give your team to go get the job done that you want done. Plain and simple. All right. Now, another one I like to run all decision-making processes through as a CEO is a 3-filter question system. And I'm going to give this to you now. Automate, delegate, eliminate. Automate, delegate, eliminate. We just talked about delegate, right? So if you're sitting at your desk and you're like, man, I have so much to do this week, I don't even know where to start, right? You're just feeling that overwhelm. Been there, done that, right? I'm raising my hand right now. So what do we do? Well, what I'd like to do is as soon as I have a clear picture of all the different things that need to get done, I just simply line by line ask myself, number one, do I have to be the one to do this? Like, am I the only person on the planet that's capable of producing the end result that is required for this particular project or task? Just right there, you should be able to bump off a bunch of stuff to delegate, because you should, as a CEO, be spending far more time working through people and using your brain instead of your hands, right? Now, don't confuse this and don't read into something I'm not saying. Sometimes as a business owner, especially if you're on a smaller team or you're just getting started, you're still going to be rolling up your sleeves and getting in there and getting dirty with your team. I mean, that's a leader leads, right? They're on the front lines too. But again, you need to be cognizant of the idea that, hey, look, just because I can do it doesn't mean I should be doing it. And 80% done by somebody, 80% quality of somebody doing it on your team is just as good as you doing it at 100%. Because that delta of 20%, you could have been applying to a much higher leverage opportunity, task, or whatnot, right? So we really need to be understanding of the fact that, hey, do I actually need to be doing this task? So run through your list and ask yourself, of all these items, do I actually have to be the person on this planet Earth to do it? Or am I, obviously, again, in a smaller team environment, am I the only person capable or able to do this? All right. So run that filter, delegate. Number 2, automate. This is not just, when I say automate, what I'm saying is, yeah, we can use, SaaS and different automation tools and automate things. But what I'm also talking about is systematize. Is this something that's going to get done more than once? If it is, this is when I go into more of an automation mindset where I'm like, okay, I'm going to be doing this every single week. So how could we make this easier, better, more efficient, right? Whatever. And just make sure that, that's just the way we've always done it, right? We don't want that, especially if you're trying to grow. Remember, old ways are not going to get you to new levels. And so you might have to look at things like, wow, we've been doing it this way for a year and I do this every single week, or we work on this every single month. Okay, well, if the results aren't coming, then we really need to dive into those things, those high load tasks or those high load projects that are perpetually built into your systems. Let's really make sure that we have optimized those as efficiently as possible. So if we can't delegate it and we have to be the one that does it, let's really make sure that we are doing it at the best possible way. All right. So that you got your delegation, you've got your automation, and then my personal favorite, elimination. Just ask yourself, what would happen if I didn't do this? Why are we doing this? Well, it's because we've always done it, or because if I don't, then 2% of our customers are going to complain. Okay, well then what? Well, we'd probably get an email or two asking why it didn't get done this week that way, or you know what I mean? Like, just really weigh the odds of elimination. One of the fastest ways to speed up is through reduction, right? It's a whole lot easier to give birth to new ideas than it is to raise the dead and try to get the old dead weight to lift up and give us something new. So I would really suggest looking at anything that you're doing and just ask yourself. Taylor and I do this all the time, especially in a community environment. One of the things I've found with online communities is that things can kind of bloat over time. Meaning, like in the educational space where you just have more and more curriculum, more and more video replays, more and more modules or lessons or whatever. We never want to confuse volume for value. At the end of the day, we are trying to create transformation, not just deliver information. And so as soon as we can start to look at our entire ecosystem, the way that we deliver our USP, our unique service proposition to our clients, and start asking ourselves, well, hang on, do they really need a 32-week course to get this end result? Like, what if we could just speed things up, give them a few Google Docs and a video, and now they could get it done in a week, right? So do not confuse like, well, I want to over deliver. I want to give them so much. They don't want a lot to do. They want the outcome. So the more effective and faster we can get them to that end result, the better. And so that's what we go through. We'll go through our curriculum on a weekly basis. Hey, look, just spot check it. Hey, what would happen if we just got rid of this piece? What would happen if we just got rid of that old group or that old function that we used to do or whatever, right? It's one of the fastest ways to speed up. So thinking as a CEO, delegating as a CEO, oftentimes means stripping things out. Remember, the ultimate form of sophistication is simplicity. If you can remove the complexity, you remove friction from your system. If you remove that friction from your system, things flow easier, they speed up, and you will find that new level. So just be very, very aware. I want you to really think about what you're doing on a weekly basis and start making that shift from the entrepreneur, that lean and scrappy, do it myself, roll up my sleeves, I'll do everything type mode, which we all usually typically start off on as. That will not get you to the next level. You really do need to start thinking through and working through people. And remember the difference between delegating tasks and delegating outcomes. It's a big one, guys. It's not necessarily easy, but it is simple. Do not confuse those two things. They're very, very different. It's not easy, but it is simple. And simple is simply understanding, hey, this is what I'm trying to achieve. What are the fewest moving parts that we can deploy in order to get to that end result as fast, as effectively as possible? All right, guys. Awesome. Well, I hope this helps. And again, thinking like CEO, it's a big shift, but it'll make you a whole lot of money. All right, guys. We'll see you in another episode of the Wealthy Consultant Podcast. Stay tuned. Cheers, share, subscribe, like, all the things. You know how it goes. And we'll see you on another episode soon. Take care, guys. Peace.